Bullying. You've heard a lot about it on the news, on radio talk shows, and more. It's always been around, but in this day and age, it is extended too when you figure cyberbullying and what have you. A lot of folks may pass it off as a rite of passage or everybody goes through it. Today we're going to meet a young man who really had a life-changing event due to a bully in his life. And I am honored to be joined by Shane Jeffries, who is an author and a real inspiration. It's good to see you, my man. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Let's take it back. Let's talk about your where you're from. You're from Paulding, right?
Born and raised.
Right in town, or was it a rural upbringing for you?
Born right in town or raised right in town.
Mm-hmm. So you attended the Paulding schools?
Yes, I did.
Paulding High School.
Yes.
You would have graduated in what year then?
1996.
1996. And you very athletic. You love sports, right?
Yes, I did.
What was your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Basketball. Now we have to have full honesty. You're a Michigan fan, okay?
Yes, I am.
I wanted to get that out there right now. I don't want to hide anything with this interview.
Okay.
You were a kid that really loved life for the most part.
Yes, I was very active. Did a variety of things. I played sports, hunted, fished. I was just basically your all-American kid.
Sound like a pretty popular kid at school too.
Yeah.
I from the little bit I've gotten to know you before this interview, you like to have fun. I can tell that.
Yes, I do.
So sense of humor. I'm banking that the good Lord's got a sense of humor.
Yes, he did. He didn't let me lose my sense of humor through everything. That's for sure. My motto is, if you're not laughing, you ain't living.
That's a good thing. And when you use the term through everything, let's go back and talk to how we got to this point in this day and age. I opened by talking about bullying. Yes. And this really changed your life. And
yes, it did.
When did you first really notice that you were bullied in school?
The summer of probably my freshman year. As you get to be a teenager, you start to get acne, and kids make fun of you, tease you, razz you about blemishes, and the physical bullying started in the summer of '93, and the individual that caused me to become disabled, he hit me, punched me 3 times that year within an 8-month span.
Mm-hmm. So this is 1993. This individual, was he your age? Was he older?
He was a year older than me.
A year older than you. So he just chose you as a target and started to bully you then?
Yeah, that's the way he was. He was that very, I'd call him an avid fighter. He liked to fight.
Was it you alone that you knew, or he liked to pick on a lot of people?
I guess I never really paid attention.
Mm-hmm.
He was your typical kid, you know. We all did knucklehead things and just something, very unfortunate thing occurred, and it was really tragic. And
okay, we only so it happened 3 times in 1993, but I believe it was 1994, St. Patrick's Day, mind you, of 1994, that it came to the full extent. Tell us what happened on St. Patrick's Day of '94.
Well, this individual the previous day accused me of stealing his money out of his gym locker, because we had gym class, 7th period together, and the next day his friends come up to me, asked me if I stole his money, and I told him no, I did not. Later on that day, 7th period, phys ed class, we were playing team handball on the gym floor. I was walking on the gym floor. He always wore a class ring. He come running up from behind me. I never saw him coming. He sucker punched me in the right temple. When he hit me, it didn't hurt. I just turned around and said, "What'd you hit me for?" He said, "You know why you stole my money?" I pleaded with him, no, I did not. At that time, it was about 5 after 2, 10 after 2, time to go in the locker room, change and go home for the day. When I got in the locker room, sat down, start to change. I started getting weak and dizzy. Kids come in the locker room frequently, and they spoke to me, and I remember speaking back to them, and it hurt really bad right there, but I was no Doogie Howser MD. I'd been punched before, and I didn't realize the ramifications of what happened. And I started vomiting. The gym teacher, he never saw the kid it happen. So he come out of his office, noticed I was sick, thought I had the flu. He called my dad, my father and gym teacher, helped me out into our car. My dad said, car ride home. He spoke to me, but never noticed anything. I got home. That's the last thing I faintly recollect. My mom and dad said to help me in the house, help me in the bed. Again, they thought I had the flu. So they were gonna let me sleep it off. Said about 5 o'clock, tried to wake me up for dinner. My mom was not able to awaken me, so she knew something was the matter. So they called the EMS, took me out to Paulding Hospital. They took a bunch of tests on me, never found anything. My folks said I started having a seizure, so then they knew something was really the matter. So they called the Life Flight helicopter, Life Flight me to Parkview Hospital in Fort Wayne, Indiana, about 8 o'clock that night. They did a CAT scan, found that I had a fractured skull. In return, when it did that, it ruptured an artery and just caused a blood clot that just kept getting larger.
At any point, did they know that you had taken a trauma to the head?
No.
They didn't. You didn't relay that to your father at all?
No,
Okay.
in the car I never spoke.
Because you progressively, after the hit, you said initially you didn't think it was that bad, but it sounded like you progressively got worse and was getting more out of it, so to speak, as it went
Yes,
on.
my father said, and he specifically told me, I remember he told me this a couple years ago, in the car ride home, he spoke to me, but he said I just looked forward. Again, they thought I had the flu. So they had no knowledge of what was really happening.
Okay, so at this point you're taken by life flight, and I take it almost like a coma type thing you went into.
Yes, I was already in a coma.
And how long were you in that
I
coma?
was in a coma almost 30 days.
30 days. Do you remember going back now, coming out of that coma?
I remember certain time frames, not very long time frames, but really short time frames, seeing different people. I think I might have laughed a couple times while I was in the coma, when I started coming out of a coma. Being in a coma is definitely not like what you see in the movies. It's very different. And it's...
How long after you came out of the coma did you recollect what actually happened to you?
I'd say about 2 weeks.
It came back to you what happened?
Yes.
You sort of had to, I would imagine you had to somewhat put the pieces together as to what got you to this point then.
Yeah, because when I come out of a coma, every head injury is different. When I come out of a coma, I was bedridden. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't eat, couldn't control my bodily functions. I had all my physical abilities taken away from me.
Now, during this month that you were in a coma, were your parents made aware as to what happened at that point?
The next day after my emergency surgery, my sister called the school and they investigated. And later on that day, that individual admitted what happened and everything came together, and that's how they found out what occurred.
When did you realize, again, you come out of this coma, when did you realize that Shane Jeffries wasn't going to be the same Shane Jeffries before he went into that coma?
Probably shortly after I come out of a coma, because it was one day you're you're able-bodied and running and jumping, and next thing you know, you wake up and you're just bedridden. I couldn't do anything on my own.
I would imagine it was a long process, a lot of rehabilitation, which, do you still rehab today at all?
Yes, I do.
You do?
3 days a week. Initially, I was in the hospital for almost 7 months. So I got to like hospital food, let me tell you.
You probably got a lot of it, that's for sure. At the time of this taping, we're nearly 18 years to the day that this occurred. And I look at you today, I mean, you're in your mid-30s, and so half of your life has more or less been spent this way.
Yes. Yes, that'd be 19 years.
19 years this
19
year.
years in less than 2 weeks.
Wow. Bullying has expanded. I opened this program by talking about cyberbullying now. Facebook has opened that up, and I'm not just pointing the finger at Facebook. This day and age of our smartphones, this, that, and the other thing, and when you put it out there, it's out there. And it's more than just a one-on-one situation. It is widespread. Are kids asking a lot about that as well?
Oh, some are, you know. Everybody's curious, you know. But it is definitely broadening and all kinds of bullying, and it definitely needs to be on the forefront and try to nip it in the bud, so to speak.
The individual that did this to you, has he ever come back to talk to you?
He has never, ever apologized.
Not even a phone call or a letter or anything to say, I'm sorry for it?
No.
Was he prosecuted for it?
He was. But as you know, he was a minor. He basically got a slap on the wrist. He was 17. He got put on probation till he was 18. Had to spend a week in a juvenile detention center. That's all he got.
What are your feelings toward that individual today?
You know, when this first happened, you know, being a kid and what happened, I had a lot of anger, resentment. With time, it's going away, and I'm trying to turn the negative into positive, and I try to be spiritual, thinking that one day he'll have to answer to God for what he's done on this earth.
If he's watching this program and sees you talking about this, what would be the one thing you'd like to say to him?
I hope you don't do the things today that you did back then, and I hope you have some form of resentment for what you did, and I don't understand how you can do something like what you did and not apologize. It's unfortunate he still fights, does stuff today like he did back then. He definitely has not learned from his mistakes.
Which is unfortunate.
Yes, very.
If somebody out there, let's address maybe some junior high, it could be any more middle school, junior high or high school kids that like to be the thugs, so to speak, and do that. What do you tell them?
Bullying's not cool. It pretty much just makes you a coward. And if you are a bully, quit. If you see bullying, speak. Tell somebody about it, because nobody really knows what bullying does to the people that are being bullied. You know, it's very hard on them emotionally. A lot of scars, emotional scars last forever. You know, people just need to think before they do something.
Shane, with all the tragedy that we've talked about that came from the bullying incident, there is truly a shining light in your life, and it's a little boy named Caden. He's your son. Tell us about Caden.
Oh, he is truly a blessing. He will be 5 June 16th, the day after Father's Day. He is a big boy, just like his daddy. He's a Michigan fan, just like his daddy.
Didn't have a choice.
No. Raise him right, raise him young. He was diagnosed with mild autism. By October will be 3 years. He's doing really good. With him having a disability, I can really relate, empathize, sympathize, and I believe he can too, because he waits on me when we walk hand in hand, and that's just awesome, knowing that he can sense your disability, and I think that's just gonna make him a better person as he gets older, because like one of my college professors said when I was way back in the day in college, he said, "You're only able-bodied for the moment. At one day at a time, each one of us are gonna have a disability."
Well said. And so he sort of helps dad along. You guys have that, father and son always have that special bond, but there's something a little bit extra here.
Yes.
He can sense that through you, I'm sure.
I know he can.
Talk about what your son senses from you when you go out and speak to, if it's middle school kids, junior high, high school kids. What do they seem to take from your message?
A lot of them are very shocked by the nature of how my injury occurred. A lot of them think it's a car accident. When they hear what really happened, they pretty much gasp and say, "Oh my goodness." And I think them hearing and witnessing what happened to me firsthand makes them think that it could very well happen to them, to one of them. And I think that will make them think and possibly stop some bullying. There's always going to be bullying out there, but just help one is worth the effort.
Through your speech and through your book, End It Now, you're reaching people in a variety of ways. You're an inspiration to me. I find it amazing that somebody can carry on like this after such a tragic event, and instead of wallowing in so-called self-pity and you're truly an inspiration and a motivator. Now this book, if somebody would like to get this, I know Amazon, you can actually get this on Amazon.
Yes, you can.
And there's some areas around here in Northwest Ohio. If you look for the book, it's authored by Shane Jeffries, and it's called End It Now. And truly remarkable. Like I said, you're a hero to me, and
thank you, Rick.
I'm glad you could share your story.
Thank you.
I'm going to forgive you for being a Michigan fan.
Okay,
too,
that's okay.
I'm going to point that out.
Thank you kindly.
And you truly are an inspiration.
Thank you.
If you see bullying or know it's taking place, be the voice. Speak out. If it's a teacher, an administrator, another parent, and get the job done. We as parents need to step up too. If you know your child is maybe bullying someone or being bullied, it's only going to help if you're proactive in it and contact the school and make things happen, because together we really can make this a better place.